Hey there, StarCraft 2 fans, and welcome back to game number 10 in the series of the Karma Kraft Gaming Tournament. Up next, we have Cheeseblock versus Moonmonk. That's the map we're looking at right now on Metalopolis. This is a Terran versus Zerg matchup, so very interesting matchup, a lot of fun to watch. I don't particularly enjoy the close spawn positions which we have here on this map, but we'll see if it turns into a relatively long and relatively good game. We do have Moonmonk, the purple Zerg player, spawning in the 6 o'clock position here, while we have Cheeseblock, the pink Terran player, spawning in the 2 o'clock position. Both players happily spamming away on their APM. We do see both players up around 200, so definitely using that spam clicking to get those SCVs and those drones mining the way they want them to. We do see the Zerg player pushing his Overlord out across just to determine if the spawn position for the Terran is here at the 8 o'clock position, but he will be unhappy to see that it is actually going to be in close spawn positions, which he now knows with this drone. Going to punch away at this SCV, do a little bit of harassment there. Continuing to pump SCVs, and the Terran player should now know that it is close spawn positions, and probably going to look to put on a little early aggression, simply because Terran player is probably going to have a little bit of an advantage in the early game, unless his Marines get surrounded by those pesky Zerglings. Doing a little bit more harassment with the drone here. The drone actually down to 10 HP, so needs to be a little bit careful not to absorb too much damage there. If we take a look over at the production tab, we do see the spawning pool just now started. Barracks is about halfway finished. Continuing to pump those drones, those SCVs, an extractor on the way and a refinery on the way for each player. So starting to get their gas underway. Doesn't look like we're going to see a double barracks build from the Terran players, so definitely happy to see that. Don't want any really cheesy builds. We'd like to see a good game that goes for a long time and has epic battles and whatnot. Don't want to see the game end too quickly. So that drone down to 9 HP now. He's been getting drilled away by that SCV. Looks like this SCV going to come back to fight a little bit more. Probably going to put down a supply depot here just to wall that off, ensure that drone doesn't get his chance to get out of the base. And the Marine now, actually, he looks like he's done a gas steal, so a little bit interesting play there. Definitely wants to keep that drone alive and get as much scouting off as possible. This Marine's going to come over here and have to pound away on that. Let's see if he cancels it and rebuilds. Looks like he's actually going to let it finish there, so a little bit unusual. Typically, Zerg players are going to cancel it and redo it as opposed to just giving up the minerals, but you know, to each his own, I suppose. Looks like Cheeseblock's going to go ahead and throw down this factory here at his front door. One thing Cheeseblock's done throughout this tournament is basically anytime he faces a Zerg player is to really build up his front door. Definitely doesn't want to get any sort of Baneling bust happen to him. It looks like he's probably going to exchange these out and do some sort of Hellion play early on. Definitely with that reactor, I think that's what we're going to see. Taking a look down here at the Zerg players' base, who I've been neglecting somewhat throughout this match so far. We do see Zergling speed is on the way. It's about 15 to 20% completed so far. The Queen is out. She's already dropped her first creep tumor. A couple of Overlords just hanging out here at the top of the ramp. If we take a look at the Harvester tab, we'll notice that both players are actually dead even. However, the Terran player does have his gas mining, whereas the Zerg player does not. So a little bit more income from the Zerg player in terms of minerals, with the exception of this pesky little mule right here that everyone loves to hate, it seems like. We do have the factory now landing on the reactor, so we will see some Hellions coming out here very soon, I'm sure. The Zergling, however, getting a scout off, going to see those Hellions, so knows that something's going to be going on here pretty soon. We do have a tech lab going down for the barracks, so Starport going down as well, so we do have the Destiny Cloudfist build. Seems like pretty much all the players in this matchup, in this tournament, have gone some type of 1-1-1 build, even if it was just a 2-1-1 build, simply because it opens up a lot of tech paths, doesn't really restrict you. Looks like we're going to go ahead and see the Banshee come out here. That's, I think, a really good play by the Terran player. Most Zerg players aren't going to have that early detection. If the cloak comes out, they're not going to have that early layer out, so it's very possible that the Banshee could be able to do quite a bit of damage here. We do have some Zerglings pushing across the map here. However, they are going to actually pass right by those Hellions. Hellions actually going to completely bypass those Zerglings altogether. So we do have 4 Hellions here. Could do quite a bit of damage. These Zerglings now actually look like they're going to be pushing back toward their base. The Hellions are making a move. He did go ahead and swap the barracks back over, so he's going to have double Marine production. However, the Hellions coming down here could do a lot of damage to these drones if they're not picked up very quickly. One drone does go down. A couple more have some damage, and 2, 3, 4 drones go down. 5 drones taken out now, so that's 250 damage, nearly paying for these Hellions. In terms of Hellion plus mining time, I believe that does completely pay for those Hellions, so very effective play there. Did he actually? It doesn't look like he took any damage on any of those Hellions, so very, very nice micro from the Terran player, completely taking the Zerg player by surprise there, I believe. Excuse me. Now we do have the Banshee pushing out across the map. No cloaking yet. If we do look at the production tab, no cloaking on the way. We do, however, have an armory, so we could be looking for some early Thors here. It could be an interesting playstyle from the Zerg player, from the Terran player to start out with. 2 queens down here at the base, though. This Banshee, unfortunately, I think he's going to have a little, or she's going to have a little bit of trouble. Not sure why he's electing to retreat. The spawning pool could be in a little bit of trouble here. 3 queens now, so that Banshee not going to be able to do any sort of damage. We do have the Spore Crawler down here in the base, and I think that's mainly because the Zerg player was able to scout this starport with the tech lab there when he snuck his Zergling up in here. He was able to scout that, so he was aware that a Banshee play was possible. So the Banshee's just going to chill out here over the top of this city. Going to move around the back of the base. Unfortunately, she's going to be very, very sad to note that there is a queen and a spore crawler here ready to cause her a lot of trouble. Looks like she's just going to try and focus down this extractor, so the queens are going to have to be pushed across here. Oh, the Hellion's coming in at the same time. Really good play. Looks like he's not going to actually get any kills. Doing a little bit of a distracting tactic. The Banshee, unfortunately, does get taken out, and these Hellions now getting loaded back up in the medevac. He did take quite a bit of damage, but he did only lose the Banshee, which is very, very good play. I don't think he was able to take out any drones there, so in terms of economic damage, it wasn't effective. But the harassment and keeping the Zerg in his base, keeping him producing attacking units as opposed to droning up is always something you want to do. We do have 4 queens out now for the Zerg player, so definitely concerned about those air units, definitely concerned about more Banshees coming across the field. We do have the Zerglings moving across, taking a shot at this bunker. This small fleet of Marines, I don't think they'll be able to do a lot of damage here, but it actually looks like the Zerg player is going to go ahead and fall back. It looks like we have a double bunker going down for the Terran player. Wasn't able to pick off that SCV, so this bunker does finish quite easily. Needs to go ahead and load up these Marines so he does have some protection on the way. The Thor does go ahead and come out. We don't have any upgrades on the way for the Thor just yet. Still mining away happily in his base. Tech Lab coming out as well. And unfortunately for the Terran player, the Zerg is going to move in and he's going to completely see what's going on. He's going to be aware that there's a Thor on the field. Probably going to go ahead and tech over to maybe Roaches or some other type of more armor absorbing unit. Actually, he could just stick with Zerglings. Zerglings are fairly effective versus Thors as long as they're not surrounded by SCVs. It should be noted that this was actually prior to the 1.2 patch, so those SCVs are not a priority over the attacking unit. So the SCVs are going to basically just sit there and be in the way of the Zerglings that are trying to surround the Thor. A lot of Speedlings moving across the map here. Could be looking to put some pressure on the Terran player. However, it just looks like they're going to kind of be moving around. Probably saw that scan go down. Wasn't really sure what to do from that point. We do have Baneling speed on the way, so very good play there. Evolution Chamber up for those Spore Crawlers, of course. No upgrades on the way just yet. The Hellion's moving in again here. One Hellion does get surrounded and picked off, and the Queen going to take a couple shots at that medevac. Still using these Hellions very effectively in terms of harassment. I believe he was able to pick off 1 drone there, so a very effective method of attacking. And just going to leave that medevac there so that he can use that again in the future. Probably not part of his build. It probably is something that he is not used to having this late in the game. Probably used to losing those Hellions fairly early on, or at least 2 or 3 of them. But so far he's only lost 1, so very good play from the Terran player in that regard. Mainly just Banelings and Speedlings right now from the Zerg player, so could be looking to see a Spire here soon. We do have a Roach Warren finished, however Glial Reconstitution's not on the way yet, so Roach Speed is not going to be available for some time. Still droning up quite heavily. If we take a look over at the income tab, we do see that the Terran player is quite far ahead in terms of income. Simply because he's able to get those mules, and actually the Zerg player has pulled ahead somewhat. So these Zerglings just following around this medevac, definitely don't want them to be dropping anything anywhere anytime soon. A couple of Thors out now for the Terran player with some Marines in these bunkers. I think his base is pretty well defended. Typical turtling Terran, I would say, in terms of how he has this laid out. Got the barracks completely defending. The only thing that the Zerg player really could do to break into the base would be any, some type of Nidus Worm or Overlord drop back here in the main, but I just don't see that happening. He does go ahead and push in here with the Zerglings, however, trying to do some damage on this front door. Does knock out a couple of Hellions. Does actually take out a Thor, so very effective play. Does get that that center bunker as well, and this bunker actually is going to have to be repaired. So that number of Zerglings and Banelings actually did quite a bit of damage there, but I don't think it was quite as much as he wanted to. He just was simply a little bit troubled by these siege tanks. This siege tank sitting on 4 HP, so if that siege tank isn't repaired, it could be an easy target for a Zergling to take care of. Excuse me. So we do see the SCVs pushing around here doing a lot of repairs to these units. Probably going to go back to happily mining away after that. We don't see the gases fully saturated just yet, so would like to see some more SCVs on there just so that Terran player can get as much gas income as possible. We do have an expansion going down over here. Actually, it's completed for the Zerg player, so a little bit of an unusual position for this expansion, but he probably wants to keep it out of the way so the Terran player doesn't spot it and doesn't see what's going on. If the Terran player is managing effectively, he will go ahead and move around, move some sort of air unit or ground unit around, and he will see that expansion eventually, but for now it looks like it's going to go undetected. That could really be a lot of trouble if the Terran player doesn't see that. This medevac looks like he attempted to make a drop over here. The drones were pushed away, however the roaches here were able to hold that off quite effectively. We do have one queen out here dropping down creep all over the place at the front of the base. A couple of Marines look like they're actually going to go ahead and do a little bit of scouting, so this Marine probably going to head over to this Zelnaga, and this other Marine probably going to head to this Zelnaga. Not exactly sure where he's going. I guess he's just going to park back there in the hidden part and not actually see anything next to the wolf statue. Oh, there he goes. He was just a little confused there for a moment. So we do see a lot of roaches. My goodness, that is 24, 27 roaches pushing forward from the Zerg player. So just checking to make sure there's no expansion here from the Terran player. Terran player is going to see this drone transfer, however, which is very unfortunate for the Zerg player. He is going to be aware now that there is another base somewhere on that side of the map, and is probably going to be looking to push out. We do have the siege tanks pushing forward here. Not sieged, however. These, unfortunately, these roaches taking a lot of damage from the siege tanks and the Thors. Thors with that 1 attack upgrade, and the siege tanks with the 1 attack upgrade, and even the Marines with the 1 attack upgrade, able to do a lot of damage to those roaches who do not have any attack upgrades. We've got a lot of Banelings here morphing. If those Banelings are able to get in position, they could do a lot of damage to these Marines. The Terran player sees that. He's now backing out, trying to do as much kiting as possible. The Banelings now are going to push forward. Looks like they're going to run into those siege tanks, though, and unfortunately are going to get pushed away. Looks like the Banelings, oh, so many wasted on that Thor and that siege tank blast. This siege tank able to do a lot of damage here. The Banelings, oh, they're just being forced to attack by all these attacks that are going on. The Thor taken out, however, all of the Banelings are taken out, completely wasted by those siege tanks. And now the Terran player able to push forward here with a lot of Marines, do a lot of damage. However, one Baneling coming in, not able to do any damage. Some of the Marines getting surrounded by the Zerglings, but just completely ineffective. And the Zerg player does call GG. The positioning from the Terran player just too much for the Zerg player to handle. Up here on this high ground, with those siege tanks, with the Thors in front tanking a lot of damage. That one Thor was able to tank at least 5 or 6 Banelings, not to mention the ones that were blasted away by the siege tanks. So unfortunately, just bad positioning for the Zerg player. He just wasn't able to get a good surround on the Terran player. Had he have snuck some Zerglings maybe up and around on top of the ramp, he might have had a little bit better luck. But unfortunately, when it comes to a Terran like that, it's really difficult to break that siege tank wall when there's so many siege tanks blasting away. So up next we'll have Cheeseblock versus Moonmonk again. This will be game 11 of the series. This will be the second game between these two players. So another Zerg versus Terran coming up next. I hope you guys enjoyed this cast. If you did, please feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I will see you guys in the next cast.